It was an ordinary Tuesday afternoon in Pine Grove, a small suburban town that boasted of its historic landmarks and tranquil parks, when the sky suddenly shimmered with an otherworldly glow. Residents peered out of their windows and gathered on sidewalks, shielding their eyes against the bright, flashing lights that cut through the afternoon sun. Among the onlookers was Dr. Emma Reyes, whose curiosity as a scientist eclipsed her instinct to seek cover. The object descended with a grace unbefitting its colossal size, settling in the middle of the town's largest park with barely a sound, a stark contrast to the cinematic explosions people expected from years of science fiction films. The crowd fell silent, a collective breath held in anticipation. Emma pushed through the crowd, her heart pounding not with fear, but with an unquenchable thirst for knowledge. As she made her way to the front, the crowd parted for the arrival of local law enforcement, who were just as unprepared as the civilians they sought to reassure. "It's probably just some rich guy's fancy new drone," Deputy Collins muttered as he passed by Emma, his voice a mix of disbelief and hope. "Or it's the most significant event in human history," Emma replied under her breath, her eyes fixed on the now-still spacecraft. The hatch of the spacecraft opened slowly, releasing a hiss of air that sounded almost like a sigh. From the shadows within emerged a figure, distinctly humanoid but undeniably alien. Its skin shimmered with a pearly luminescence, and its large, opalescent eyes reflected the crowd's awestruck faces. Emma stepped forward, her mind racing through every protocol and greeting she had ever learned or imagined. As she approached the barrier the deputies hastily erected, the alien tilted its head, observing her with a clear sense of intelligence and curiosity. "Hello," Emma called out, her voice steady despite the pounding of her heart. "I'm Dr. Emma Reyes. I'm a scientist. I mean you no harm." The alien responded with a series of soft chirps and whistles, none of which translated into any human language. But its tone was friendly, even inviting. Emma took out her smartphone, trying to record the sounds. Noticing the device in her hands, the alien's eyes widened, and it took a tentative step forward, reaching out with a slender, three-fingered hand. "Are you interested in this?" Emma asked, holding up her phone. "It's called a smartphone. We use it to communicate, among other things." The alien chirped again, more animatedly this time, and Emma laughed lightly, the sound carrying a mix of nerves and excitement. "I wish I knew what you were trying to say," she said, more to herself than to the alien. "But maybe we can learn from each other." As if understanding her intent, the alien nodded slowly, its gaze still fixed on the smartphone. "This device helps us learn about each other's worlds," Emma continued, encouraged by the alien's gestures. "It can take pictures, send messages, and even translate languages. Though, I guess we haven't programmed it for interstellar languages yet." The alien leaned closer, its eyes reflecting a myriad of colors as they studied the smartphone screen. Emma took a slow, careful video of the alien, then showed it the playback. The alien's eyes shimmered with what Emma interpreted as delight. "Looks like you're a fan of gadgets," Emma said with a growing smile. "We have a lot more to show you." The crowd behind her buzzed with questions and whispers, their initial fear giving way to the same curiosity that drove Emma. She turned back to them, raising her voice to be heard. "We have the opportunity to learn so much today," she announced. "Let's show our visitor the best of what humanity has to offer." The alien, still focused on the smartphone, chirped agreeably, a sound that Emma would come to understand as affirmation. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the park, the first chapter of an unprecedented interstellar friendship was just beginning. Emma and her new alien friend stood side by side, a bridge between two vastly different worlds, united by mutual curiosity and a smartphone that suddenly held the promise of so much more. The next morning found Pine Grove transformed. News vans and curious onlookers from neighboring towns had crowded the streets, each hoping to catch a glimpse of the visitor from the stars. Amid the chaos, Emma Reyes arrived at the park with a team of her colleagues from the local university, each carrying various scientific instruments and recording devices. As they approached the barricade, Emma saw that the alien, whom she'd started thinking of as Luro, a name derived from the luminescent quality of its skin, was already waiting. It stood calmly, observing the growing crowd with an apparent sense of wonder and amusement. "Good morning, Luro," Emma greeted, stopping at the edge of the barrier. "I brought some friends today. We're here to learn, if you're willing to teach." Luro chirped softly, stepping closer and tilting its head as if considering her words. Then, extending its hand in what had quickly become a familiar greeting, it signaled its assent. Emma introduced her colleagues one by one, explaining their areas of expertise. "This is Dr. Alan Choi. He specializes in linguistics, and we're hoping he can help us communicate better. And this is Dr. Susan Lee, our biologist." As each name was said, Luro repeated the sound, its voice echoing the tones imperfectly but with surprising clarity. Alan brought out a tablet equipped with language translation software, setting it to record and analyze Luro's unique vocalizations. "Let's start simple," Alan suggested, speaking slowly. "I am Alan." Luro listened, then mimicked the phrase. The tablet captured the sounds, and a series of algorithms churned in the background, searching for patterns. Emma watched, fascinated. "We're making history here," she whispered to Susan, who nodded, her eyes wide with excitement. The morning passed in a blur of exchanges. Luro was quick to learn and seemed eager to mimic human speech. It wasn't long before the tablet began to pick up patterns, suggesting possible meanings for the sounds Luro made. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, Emma decided it was time to delve deeper. "Luro, can you tell us about where you come from?" she asked, pointing upwards towards the sky. Luro's response was a series of melodic tones that the tablet struggled to interpret. But then, Luro did something unexpected. It touched Emma's smartphone, then pointed to its own ship. Understanding dawned on Emma. "You want to show us through images?" she guessed. Luro chirped affirmatively and motioned for Emma to follow it inside the spacecraft. With a mixture of trepidation and exhilaration, Emma and her team crossed the threshold into the alien ship. Inside, the technology was unlike anything they had ever seen. Panels of shimmering lights and strange, fluid interfaces filled the space. Luro guided them to a large screen, which lit up with images of a distant world. Vast oceans, towering structures, and skies filled with otherworldly colors flashed before their eyes. "This is your home?" Susan asked, her voice hushed in awe. Luro chirped, touching the image of a particularly impressive cityscape. The team spent hours discussing the images, using the tablet and Emma's smartphone to facilitate the exchange of ideas. Slowly, a picture of Luro's world began to form, a civilization both advanced and strikingly beautiful. As the day wore on, Emma realized the significance of what was happening. They were not just making contact with an alien life form, they were forming a connection that bridged the gap between two peoples. "Thank you, Luro, for sharing this with us," Emma said as they prepared to leave the ship. "We hope to learn more about each other as friends." Luro's reply, a soft series of tones, was now partially translatable through the tablet. "Friend," it said, a word that sent a ripple of excitement through the team. Back outside, the crowd had grown even larger, buzzing with anticipation and 1,000 whispered questions. Emma stepped up to the barriers, raising her hands for silence. "Today," she began, her voice carrying across the park, "we stand at the dawn of a new era in human understanding. We have been given a priceless gift, the chance to learn from a being from another world. And in return, we will share the best of what we are." The crowd erupted in cheers, and even as Emma smiled, her mind raced with the possibilities of what might come next. Luro stood beside her, its eyes sparkling with what she could only guess was joy. Together, they looked out at the sea of human faces, all united by a single, insatiable curiosity about the universe and their place within it. After the excitement of the first open interaction, Luro was invited to a special facility designed for interspecies collaboration, operated by the university where Emma worked. The secure environment was equipped with advanced technology and laboratories suitable for both human and alien research activities. Emma, alongside a multidisciplinary team, was determined to facilitate a deep and mutual exchange of knowledge. As they entered the facility, Luro seemed both intrigued and reassured by the efforts made to accommodate its presence. The team had gone to great lengths to create a comfortable atmosphere, incorporating elements that mimicked the alien environment shown on Luro's ship. "Welcome to our research hub," Emma said, guiding Luro through the various labs. "We hope you find these settings to be a home away from home." Luro responded with a series of melodic tones, which, thanks to the ongoing efforts of the linguistic team, were now partially understandable. Pleasing, like sunlight, the device interpreted, causing smiles to spread among the team. Dr. Susan Lee eagerly introduced Luro to the biology lab. "We're particularly interested in learning about the flora and fauna of your world. Any samples you might be willing to share would be invaluable," she explained, showing Luro around the high-tech equipment. Luro approached a container it had brought along, opening it to reveal several sealed samples of alien plant life. As Susan examined them with wide eyes, Luro explained through the translation tablet: growth, healing, nourishment. Fascinated, Susan set about organizing the samples for analysis, discussing their potential benefits with Luro. The aliens' understanding of biology promised breakthroughs in medical science and agriculture. Meanwhile, Dr. Alan Choi was setting up a communication interface in the tech lab, which would allow for more nuanced conversations. "The goal here is to build a real-time translation system," he explained to Luro, who watched intently as he worked. "Something that lets us talk more fluidly." Luro touched various symbols on the interface, quickly adapting to the system. "Your words, my understanding grows," it said, its voice emanating from the speakers with a clarity that surprised everyone. "Excellent. We're making great progress," Alan replied, his enthusiasm infectious. As the day progressed, Emma took Luro to the engineering section, where Dr. Raj Patel had been eager to learn about the technology that powered Luro's spacecraft. "The efficiency of your ship's propulsion system is unlike anything we've developed. Any insight you could share would be greatly appreciated," Raj said, showing Luro schematics of human-made engines and their limitations. Luro approached a holographic display and began manipulating the images with fluid gestures, overlaying them with designs from its own technology. "Harmony with forces, natural paths of energy," Luro explained, pointing out the differences in approach. Raj and his team were captivated, taking notes and asking questions which Luro patiently answered. The potential for energy advancements was clear, and the collaborative atmosphere was electric with potential. By late afternoon, Emma arranged a meeting with all the department heads to discuss the day's findings. They gathered in a large conference room, where Luro's ability to share knowledge had already led to numerous innovative ideas. "We're just scratching the surface of what's possible," Emma began, addressing the group. "Each department has seen incredible things today. Let's share some highlights and think about where we can go from here." Susan spoke up first. "The plant samples Luro brought have properties that could revolutionize how we treat diseases and repair tissue. We're looking at a whole new field of biomedicine." Raj chimed in, "The energy principles Luro shared could lead us to more sustainable power sources, maybe even new forms of propulsion." Alan added, "And on the communication front, we're closer than ever to a true dialogue. This could help us not only with Luro but potentially with other interstellar communications in the future." Emma nodded, her mind racing with the possibilities. "This is just the beginning. Our next step is to formalize our partnership. Luro, are you willing to continue this journey with us? To share and learn together?" Luro's response came through the tablet with a warmth that felt almost human. "Together, learn, grow." Cheers filled the room, and Emma felt a profound sense of responsibility and hope. They were no longer just a team of scientists, they were pioneers on a new frontier of understanding. As the meeting adjourned, Emma and Luro stood by a window, looking out at the setting sun. "We're on the brink of a new era, Luro," Emma said softly. "Sunset," sunrise, both bring new light, Luro replied, its voice soft yet resonant through the translation device. Emma smiled, knowing that together, they would explore many new dawns. Despite the excitement and progress at the research hub, the external response to Luro's presence on Earth wasn't uniformly positive. The government had been closely monitoring the situation, and several agencies expressed concerns about the potential implications of sharing advanced technology so freely. Meanwhile, media speculation and public opinion varied wildly, from excitement and welcome to fear and suspicion. Emma met with a delegation from the government one morning, led by Director Helen Watkins of the National Security Agency, to discuss the partnership with Luro. The meeting took place in a secure conference room at the facility, where Director Watkins laid out her concerns straightforwardly. Dr. Reyes, while we appreciate the scientific breakthroughs this cooperation might bring, we must consider the security implications, Director Watkins began, her tone firm yet not unkind. We need assurances that this technology won't fall into the wrong hands or be used against us. Emma understood the concerns but felt a pang of frustration. Director Watkins, I assure you, the potential benefits far outweigh the risks. Luro has shown nothing but goodwill towards us. With proper safeguards, which we have been diligently implementing, the risk can be managed. Luro, who had been silent, spoke through the translation device. Understanding brings peace. Fear brings barriers. Director Watkins looked at Luro, her expression unreadable. It's not just about intentions, good or otherwise. It's about consequences, intended or not. This isn't just a scientific exchange, it's a matter of international security. The meeting ended with an agreement to increase oversight but allowed the research to continue. Emma felt uneasy about the level of government involvement but was relieved that they could proceed. Back at the lab, the tension from the meeting lingered. Emma discussed the situation with her team, trying to gauge their thoughts. We're treading new ground here, said Dr. Alan Choi, trying to lighten the mood. It's not just about science anymore, it's about diplomacy, ethics. Dr. Susan Lee added, we need to keep proving that what we're doing here benefits everyone, not just us but potentially the world. Raj nodded, his expression thoughtful. Maybe we need to be more transparent with the public, show them the benefits directly. It might help ease some of the fear. Emma agreed, and they decided to organize a public symposium to demonstrate the positive outcomes of their collaboration with Luro. As the day of the symposium approached, the facility buzzed with preparations. Luro seemed particularly interested in the public reaction and often asked Emma about the different viewpoints on Earth regarding alien contact. People fear what they don't understand, Emma explained one afternoon as they reviewed their presentation. But once they see the benefits, how your knowledge could help us solve pressing issues like climate change, disease, and energy crises, they'll come around. We just have to show them. Luro's response was thoughtful. In my world, fear was once a shadow that darkened our path. Only light of knowledge dispelled it. The symposium was a pivotal moment. Emma, Luro, and the team presented their findings and shared potential applications of the alien technology. They demonstrated a prototype medical device inspired by Luro's plant samples that had remarkable healing properties and a new energy model that could reduce reliance on fossil fuels. The audience was a mix of civilians, scientists, and officials. The Q&A session was intense, with sharp questions about security, ethical implications, and the potential for cultural disruption. How can we be sure this won't be used against us? One attendee asked, a question that seemed to echo the broader global anxiety. Luro took the question directly. Tools are as good or ill as those who wield them. Share knowledge for healing, for growth, not harm. His answer, sincere and simple, seemed to resonate with many in the room, though skepticism remained among some. As they left the stage, Emma felt a mix of relief and resolve. The path forward was clear but filled with hurdles. They needed to continue their work with transparency and careful diplomacy. That evening, as the facility quieted down, Emma and Luro walked through the garden on the campus, reflecting on the day. We've started a conversation, Luro, Emma said, looking over at her friend. It's going to be challenging, but I think it's worth it." Luro looked up at the stars, visible now in the twilight sky. "Many paths lie before us, Emma. Some lead through darkness, some through light. We walk together, yes?" "Yes, Luro, together," Emma affirmed, feeling the weight and warmth of their shared journey into the unknown. In the weeks that followed the symposium, Emma and Luro worked diligently on a groundbreaking project, inspired by the positive and negative feedback from the event. Their goal was to develop a device that could embody the spirit of their collaboration, a gadget that could potentially bridge the gap between different worlds and cultures, ensuring a smoother integration of alien and human technologies and philosophies. The device, which they named the Harmonizer, was designed to facilitate real-time communication between humans and aliens. It could translate languages instantaneously and was also equipped with sensors that could interpret emotional and physiological responses, fostering deeper understanding and empathy. Imagine if we could not only understand the words of our interstellar visitors but also sense how they feel, maybe even understand their way of thinking, Emma mused one afternoon in the lab, examining the prototype in her hand. Luro, who had been instrumental in integrating its technology with human designs, responded with enthusiasm. "True harmony arises not just from shared words but from shared feelings and thoughts," it chirped, its voice modulated through the translation device they had refined. As they discussed the technical details, Dr. Alan Choi entered the lab, his face alight with excitement. "We've just completed another test of the Harmonizer's translation matrix. It's performing beyond our expectations. I think we're ready to take this to the next stage." Emma nodded, her mind racing with the possibilities. "The next step is field testing. We need to know how it works in real-world interactions, not just in controlled environments." Susan added from across the room, "And let's not forget the biofeedback capabilities. It's going to revolutionize how we conduct diplomacy, not just with aliens but even amongst ourselves." Over the next few days, they prepared for a public demonstration of the Harmonizer. The event was to be held in Pine Grove's Town Hall, a neutral and symbolic location given its proximity to where Luro first arrived. The team invited diplomats, scientists, journalists, and residents, aiming to showcase the device's potential in fostering international and interstellar relations. On the day of the demonstration, the town hall was packed. The air buzzed with anticipation and a fair share of skepticism. Emma felt a flutter of nerves as she stepped up to the podium, Luro by her side. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today," Emma began, her voice steady despite the butterflies in her stomach. "What we are about to present may seem like science fiction, but I assure you, it is a testament to what we can achieve when we work together." She gestured to Luro, who held up the Harmonizer. "This device," Luro explained, "will help us understand each other, not just through words, but through the unspoken emotions and intentions that are often lost in translation." Alan handed a Harmonizer to a volunteer from the audience, a young woman who had expressed skepticism earlier. "Please, say something to Luro, anything," he encouraged. The woman hesitated, then spoke in Spanish, her native language. "¿Cómo puede este aparato ayudar a crear paz verdadera?" How can this device truly create peace? The Harmonizer translated her words into Luro's language, and then back into English, displaying not only the text but also her emotional tone, curiosity tinged with skepticism. Luro responded, and his words appeared on the screen in perfect Spanish. "Understanding is the foundation of peace. This device removes barriers, allowing us to see not just what we say, but how we feel about what we say." The crowd murmured, impressed by the smoothness of the exchange. The young woman nodded, a slight smile crossing her face as she experienced the depth of the interaction. The Q&A that followed was vibrant, with the Harmonizer facilitating discussions that were more open and understanding than any before. Doubts were addressed not just with words but with genuine emotional exchanges, bridging human and alien emotions and thoughts. As the demonstration concluded, applause filled the hall. Emma and her team felt a collective sense of accomplishment. They had not only showcased their technology but had taken a tangible step towards a future where fear and misunderstanding could be overcome. Walking out of the town hall, Emma felt Luro's gaze on her. How do you feel, Emma? Luro asked, the harmonizer translating its concern. I'm hopeful, Luro, she replied, looking back at the crowd dispersing with new understanding in their eyes. Today, we didn't just share technology, we shared a vision of the future. Luro's reply was simple yet profound. Hope is the light that guides us. Today, we kindled a flame. As they walked back to the lab under the setting sun, Emma knew that they had not just developed a new gadget but had sparked a potential revolution in communication, a beacon for peace in an uncertain galaxy. The success of the harmonizer's initial demonstration in Pine Grove generated a wave of excitement and interest from around the world. It wasn't long before Emma and her team were invited to present their groundbreaking technology at an international technology summit in Geneva, Switzerland. This summit would host world leaders, top scientists, and technology investors, providing a perfect stage to demonstrate the harmonizer's potential on a global scale. Emma spent weeks preparing with Luro and her team, refining the harmonizer's capabilities and preparing for any possible questions and scenarios they might face. This is more than just another presentation, Emma explained during one of their strategy sessions. It's an opportunity to really make a difference in how different cultures and possibly different species interact forever. Luro nodded, its eyes glowing slightly with what Emma recognized as a sense of responsibility. We will show them that understanding is not just about language, but about connection and empathy. As they arrived in Geneva, the air was crisp and filled with the murmurs of dozens of languages, a perfect testbed for the harmonizer. The team felt a mix of nervousness and excitement as they set up their booth, equipped with several harmonizer devices ready for live demonstrations. The summit began with speeches and presentations from various innovators and leaders, but it was clear that the session involving Emma and Luro was highly anticipated. When it was their turn, Emma started the presentation with a brief introduction of their journey and the creation of the harmonizer. Ladies and gentlemen, Emma began, her voice echoing in the large auditorium, today we bring you not just a device, but a doorway to a future where misunderstandings are a thing of the past. The harmonizer represents the pinnacle of our collaborative efforts with Luro, our friend from beyond the stars. Luro took over, using the harmonizer to flawlessly translate its speech. In my world, understanding and harmony are the cores of existence. We brought this vision here, hoping to share it with all of you. The crowd listened, rapt, as Emma and Luro conducted live demonstrations. They invited volunteers from the audience, each speaking different languages, to communicate through the harmonizer. A French diplomat spoke with a Japanese AI developer, their conversation seamlessly facilitated by the device, their words and emotional contexts clearly understood by both parties. As the demonstration continued, skepticism turned into belief. The real turning point came when a skeptical Russian diplomat challenged the device. How can this device handle complex political negotiations where not just words, but the context and subtexts are vital, he asked, his tone both curious and challenging. Emma nodded to Luro, who responded, let us show you. They simulated a negotiation scenario using a contentious topic, with the diplomat and a German counterpart agreeing to use the harmonizer. As the discussion unfolded, not only were their words translated but also their frustrations and underlying concerns were made clear, leading to a breakthrough in their dialogue. Seeing our emotions and misunderstandings laid bare like this, it's revolutionary, the German diplomat admitted, visibly impressed by the clarity the harmonizer brought to the negotiation. The audience burst into applause, the energy in the room shifting from curiosity to enthusiasm. Emma and Luro answered questions, explaining the technology's potential applications in diplomacy, business, and education. As the session ended, delegates from various countries approached them, expressing their interest in implementing the harmonizer in their own international efforts. This could change the way we resolve conflicts, conduct trade, and even how we relate to potential extraterrestrial civilizations in the future, one delegate remarked. After the demonstration, as the crowd dispersed, a young engineer from Brazil lingered behind. Dr. Reyes, Luro, she said, your work is inspiring. It's more than technology, it's a new form of diplomacy. How can young innovators like myself contribute to this field? Emma smiled, pleased by the young woman's enthusiasm. keep pushing the boundaries of technology and empathy. Join us in our research, collaborate across borders and fields. The future of this technology and its impact depends on bright minds like yours. As they packed up their equipment, Luro turned to Emma. Today was a good day? Emma laughed, her relief and pride mingling. Yes, Luro, today was a very good day. We've started something that could really make a difference. Walking out into the cool Geneva evening, Emma felt a renewed sense of purpose. The harmonizer had been well received, but the road ahead would be full of challenges and opportunities. Yet, with Luro by her side, she felt ready to face whatever came next. Together, they were not just sharing technology, they were shaping the future. In the months following the Geneva summit, the impact of the harmonizer reached far beyond the initial buzz of the technology showcase. The device was now in pilot programs around the globe, facilitating diplomatic negotiations, international business dealings, and educational exchanges. Emma and Luro were at the heart of this burgeoning revolution, constantly refining the technology and overseeing its implementation. One crisp autumn morning, in their new joint headquarters, a state-of-the-art facility funded by a coalition of international governments and private investors, Emma and Luro met with their expanding team. The atmosphere was electric with innovation and the palpable buzz of change. Today we're launching the Harmonizer 2.0, Emma announced to the team gathered in the conference room. This version not only translates languages and emotional nuances but also adapts to cultural contexts, which is critical in international politics and commerce. Luro, ever the co-developer, added through the updated device, our aim is not just to be understood, but to understand. We have woven in algorithms that help parse cultural idioms and social cues, making communication not just clear, but deeply connected. The team applauded, excited by the potential. Dr. Susan Lee, now head of the Biological Research Division, shared an update on a related project. We're also making strides in medical communication. The harmonizer is helping doctors and patients overcome language barriers in real time, which is crucial in emergencies. Dr. Alan Choi, leading the cultural integration team, chimed in, and on the educational front, we're using the harmonizer to create immersive language learning programs that could revolutionize how we learn languages and understand other cultures. As the meeting progressed, Emma felt a profound sense of accomplishment, but also a burgeoning responsibility to guide this technology wisely. The discussion shifted toward the ethical implications and the need for robust policy frameworks to ensure the harmonizer's responsible use. Later that day, Emma and Luro prepared for a live interview with a major international news network, set to broadcast from their headquarters. The interview was designed to discuss the future implications of their work and the global potential of the harmonizer. Sitting across from the interviewer, a sharp-minded journalist named Claire, Emma felt the weight of the world's eyes on them. Claire's first question was incisive. Dr. Reyes, while the harmonizer is a revolutionary tool, there are concerns about privacy and the potential for misuse. How do you address these fears? Emma nodded, understanding the gravity of the question. Claire, those concerns are valid and something we take very seriously. We are implementing strict ethical guidelines and working with global leaders to ensure the harmonizer is used to foster understanding and peace, not to exploit or manipulate. Luro added, transparency is key. We share our developments and insights openly, and we are committed to a dialogue with the global community to find the best paths forward. The interview touched on various topics, from potential scientific advances to philosophical discussions about the nature of communication and understanding. Emma and Luro articulated a vision of the future where technology like the harmonizer could help resolve long-standing conflicts and build bridges between disparate communities. After the interview, as the studio lights dimmed, Emma and Luro had a moment to reflect. We are changing the world, aren't we? Emma mused aloud, not without a hint of awe. Luro's response was tinged with the wisdom of its species. We are offering tools. It is up to the world how they use them. But yes, we are crafting new horizons. That evening, as they walked through a part of the headquarters where a new interactive exhibit on intercultural communication was being set up, Emma felt the enormity of their journey. From Luro's first uncertain steps on Earth to this moment, they had traversed more than just physical distances, they had bridged worlds. "Look how far we've come, Luro," Emma said, gesturing around them. "And yet, how far we still have to go," Luro replied, its voice a mix of melancholy and hope. Emma smiled, her resolve strengthened. "Together, then?" "Always, together," Luro affirmed, its gaze fixed on the stars visible through the large windows, a silent reminder of the infinite possibilities that lay ahead. As they turned back to their work, the paths they would explore were limitless, but one thing was certain, their journey was far from over. It was just another beginning, another dawn in the endless pursuit of understanding and unity.